We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Chop Robinson, Miami Dolphins edge defender. First round pick, playing in his second preseason game. We got to see another look at him. I think from what we know now, from really seeing him in action, I really do feel that he's going to be like a specialist, specifically pass rushing, because he hasn't had that many pass rush reps, and I feel like for the most part he's getting pressure. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a very like high pass rush win rate, based on the opportunities that he gets. For Chop, things he still definitely needs to work on as a run defender. I don't think it was as blatantly bad in this game as a run defender compared to the second one. Like, he still has things that he needs to work on, but was at least showing some higher effort on the reps he did lose. But like, overall, this was a mixed bag performance. It's not like he's playing a ton, but really third down. And I think the biggest thing that we haven't seen yet that we will see in the season is him aligning on the inside and getting some interior pressure. That was kind of one of his best skill set at Penn State. And I think, in those situations, obvious pass rush situations, and you have guys like, and then you have Phillips on the field, and Chubb is back. You really could see Chops like making an impact there, and I think he can get some wins. This was probably his best rep of the day versus the Buccaneers. You can see the speed to power. Love this. Chop definitely more comfortable with his hand in the dirt, playing in a 3-point stance. Gets off the ball. You obviously see the explosiveness. He attacks like the outside half of the man. Gives like that first step to the midline, but then attacks the outside half of the man. Gets him slightly off balance, and then uses speed to power. I love the leverage. Even though he's an undersized guy, he gets underneath him. Doesn't even have the greatest length, but he's able to pick him up, extend with that inside arm right there to create space, open up this to the inside. The ball's coming out quick, but Chop really did win very, very quickly on this rep. This is definitely the one to watch, and the speed to power will be one of the ways he wins on the outside. I feel like he needs to add more moves to his bag, but speed to power is one for sure. He's got the dip and rip to bend to the outside and win too, because he's got that athleticism, and he also has the quickness to knife to the inside and win in those types of ways. And once he's able to use his hands a little bit better, I think be just a little more consistent versus the run. Like, he's never going to be like an elite run defender or anything, but I think there are reps of where he does show off some decent plays, even coming out of college, and in the NFL level, it's still a very limited sample size. Like, he didn't play at all in preseason week 1. He's only played a little bit in week 2 and preseason week 3. But here we do see some nice hustle. They throw the screen. Sometimes he could struggle with this type of thing. He is very explosive up the field. They leave him unblocked. He probably just wants to try to get after the quarterback, but I like him recognizing it, get out, and look at him chase this guy down. Like, he has some just special athletic traits. I think one of the positives is if he is playing like more in the interior, especially against like more athletic QBs, he can almost be like a spy in certain situations too, because he can close ground so fast. He's really just like that type of weapon. He's really not going to be like that full-time player. That's why there was like other guys I was kind of preferring at that spot. But I do understand the Chop pick, because he still will make an impact even while he's still trying to develop. I feel like this is another pretty good pass rush rep, one-on-one versus the left tackle. Gets off the ball, explode like this. I feel like the left tackle is almost panicking too. He's this time trying to win to the outside. Shows his hands. I like this like flash of hands work here. Trying to mix things up. And he probably would have gotten a hit here on the quarterback if the running back wasn't in his way too. So like, he has the running back to his side. That's been a problem, is he has had a running back and tight end slow him down. He's had to drop into coverage in certain reps, taking away pass rush opportunities. That's why I want to see more and more of these. But catches him off guard, flashes the hands, which gets this guy to commit. And once he does that, he dips underneath it. So I love the rep here. Like, he's showing stuff. He's trying to give you different moves. Showing like he might engage, dip underneath, dip and rip. If this running back doesn't slow him down right here, he probably gets to the quarterback, but he's still able to get close enough. And then the ball ends up being thrown incomplete anyways, but just another decent rep there from Chop. Not as strong as the first one, that speed to power clean wise, but those are, there's definitely positives to take away from it. And I think, if Chop is getting like true one-on-ones and they're creating more opportunities for him in games, which I think, Weaver is going to try to do in real games that like matter. Like, he's probably trying to put these guys in tougher spots in preseason to see if they win. So I only think it will get better for him in the regular season, even though he'll be facing tougher competition. I don't think that matters too much for Chop. That matters for some other players, but I think for Chop, the O-line that he's going against, I think, when you look at the opportunities he was put in, it won't change too much overall. Like, obviously, it'll be better talent, but I think he'll be put in better situations, which should even things out. Here he is versus a run. They kind of leave him unblocked. This is a better rep this time. Like, I believe this is Kyle Trask, so it's a pretty athletic QB. He does a better job not, like, instantly crashing down on the running back, so he stays patient. He gets the quarterback to give the handoff, and then he gets down laterally once he sees the running back actually has the ball, and almost makes the tackle from a pretty difficult spot. Like, he shouldn't have any right really making this tackle anyways unless he crashes down instantly, but if then that happens, the quarterback would pull. So I like him being a little more disciplined and then getting downhill. If the running back didn't have this open lane to the right, he probably would have made this tackle right at the line of scrimmage, but there ended up being a hole opened up. But overall, just a slight improvement overall from Chop. Definitely got to give him some credit there where credit is due. Here's another pass rush rep. This one is kind of similar to that first play where he goes speed to power, catch the guy off guard. The only difference this time is I think the right tackle plays it slightly better, and then the right guard is able to come over and help and knock Chop off balance. But you can see how he uses the speed to power. The initial part of the play is nice. Look at the footwork here. He does a really good job mixing up, like, his stride length. It's something that goes kind of underrated with pass rushers, receiver, is mixing up the stride length. It really can keep DBs, offensive linemen, off balance, and he does a good job there. Giving a little bit of foot fire, then once he gets up into him, boom, speed to power, use that right arm to extend and try to open him up to the inside. And he probably would have gotten pretty close to Baker here if the right guard didn't come over and knock him down, which is unfortunate. But it is nice to see that he at least was getting some attention. The ending of the play could have been much better, but I do like the initial process that he was showing overall. This play, Chop gets down, laterally down, and you could tell by how Curtis Bolden plays it that he's going to scrape over the top. And this was a 3rd and 1 situation, so I actually kind of like how Chop played this. Usually you want him setting the edge, but versus the Titan, you just want him getting downhill and creating some disruption. So he knifes to the inside hard, gets across the Titan face, and then Bolden's able to scrape over it. Now, if he was it's just one step that, they would have stopped this. If Bolden was a little tighter to this, or Rashad had to bounce it a little more to the right, they probably would have stopped this. But I do like the attempt that Chop tried to pull off here. This actually isn't too bad of a rep when you understand the situation. And you can see with how the linebacker played off of it that this was kind of the plan too. It could have just been he just barely picks up the first down, which is, unfortunate. This is another play where I think the initial part of the play is not too bad. Like, the run is to his side, and I actually think he sets the edge here pretty nicely. Like, he's able to reset the line of scrimmage, doesn't get bullied to the outside, he doesn't get washed down, he actually takes him apart. I think he shows some nice balance and play strength initially here. Like, this isn't too bad. If everyone else is kind of doing their job, it could get stopped pretty nicely, but the running back's able to find a cutback lane. So I think the initial part here isn't too bad when it comes to setting the edge, technique-wise, leverage-wise, where you want to be. He's not getting washed down to the play. He's constricting good enough. He's, reset that line of scrimmage. The only problem is I think he kind of struggles to get off of it after. Like, here he kind of gets bullied. I mean, it doesn't really matter, like, it doesn't really matter situation-wise because, like, he never was going to be involved in this tackle anyways. But you want to see him be able to stack and shed a little bit better because he kind of struggled to get off of it here. And I think he goes off screen, but I do think he ends up on the ground in that situation. And then the last play we're going to look at here is just Chop dropping into coverage. I would have loved for him to get more pass reps, but he did drop into coverage multiple times. And this is pretty difficult to do. Like, it's nothing crazy, but it is difficult to, like, drop into coverage when you're a hand in the dirt player. Like, not many people do it, but Chop's done it every single time. I like that he, at least when he dropped here, he went out, got hands on number 3, disrupted the route timing, threw him to help, down the field, and then he became the hook defender, sat in the middle. He's not going to be anything insane in coverage, but he does have some athleticism, and nice to see that at least, he'll sit in the throwing lane, at least, take a little bit of time, throw timings off a little bit, but he'll never be, like, super instinctive in those areas. So overall, it was kind of a mixed bag from Chop. We saw the pass rush potential again. He keeps flashing that. I do feel as if he will make a pass rush impact in year 1. That's kind of like all I'm expecting. I feel like, we could see a jump down the line, whether it's later in this year or, next year when it comes to him becoming a full-time player. But he doesn't really have to be a full-time player. He might have to see a lot of reps early in the season because of the injuries to, guys like Phillips and Chubb. But as the year goes on, I feel like Chop will really find himself a role as a situational pass rush specialist, and they can use him as a matchup guy. And if it's needed, if you're going against some athletic quarterbacks, I feel like he can also make some plays. But overall, I think it was an okay preseason for Chop. He flashed the pass rush stuff, but you still want to see the development for sure. I think him and Paul, our first and second round picks, were taken as guys who were needed of development. But you'll see more of that impact from Chop because, I mean, they're playing different positions, and Chop can actually get in a rotation. You don't rotate offensive linemen like that, so Paul won't see playing time unless of injuries. But I do think Chop has a very specific way that he can win, and that translates to this level, and you got to see how he can win, especially if, other things are held up. To me, it's all about just like win rate. Like if we go back and look at the first play, it's like we just want to see him create that initial disruption, that pressure. Like even though the ball is coming out like quick, you just have to think of like the process is great here. The result doesn't matter. Like it gets completed, but if this process is how he's going to win over and over again on different plays, different situations, if he's winning like this, then he'll start to get those pressures, hits, sacks. That will all come if he keeps winning this quickly, just like that. So that's kind of like where I have the positive, like the optimist side of me is feeling pretty good about Chop in that way. But still definitely want to see some development with him. So if you guys do the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and